All right, so let's get started. If you've got any questions, I'll just get you to mute though, if that's okay, in what we call a short course in this to help you to use the processes with your people and your clients. So I am the founder. I'm going to talk about how it came through and what I present to people now. And I'm an internationally accredited level 5 kinesiologist with the Australian Kinesiology Association and the International Association of Specialised Kinesiologists. So we're going to talk about what this is about. So the human brain has approximately 100 billion neurons. These neurons make over 100 trillion neural connections in your brain every single waking and sleeping moment. So these videos just assist people to see what we're really talking about and how those neural connections matter, especially for our clients and where the processes can take them. Our emotions and how we respond to observed experiences are also governed by these neural pathway connections that we have in our brain and our clients have. Unhelpful thoughts and emotions are reinforced every time we roll our eyes at displeasing events, and it's those eye rolls that become part of our emotional sabotages. That's why it's really tricky to change how we see ourselves and our world. So you'd appreciate you've got clients there that you're working through great stuff with and they're just not shifting. It's because some of this will be online, and it's really helpful to be using a model that will help them shift and something they can work with at home as well. So kinesiology and eye movement. So I showed you the link to that video before, and I just really would like you to have a look at that sometime in the next week or so, just to sort of connect the dots on what this is all about and where this is going. So you would have heard of EMDR, a lot of people have, but what people don't know is we as kinesiologists have been using it before the psychologists have. We just haven't put it out there well enough, and that's what's starting to occur now, especially with eye-motional processes. So eye movements have been used in kinesiology balances since 1982, and they commenced their practitioner journey in 1979 through NLP. EMDR then came along in 1985. So here's that video link to check it out. I've thrown that in the chat for you to have a look at. The foundations of eye movement-based kinesiology really are steeped in some large, strong history, and we do know some of these people. Some of you would have trained in lineages related to these people. So the eye-motional processes, kinesiology, meditations build upon the foundations of these very, very important kinesiologists who are our forefounders to our industry. So it recognises the professional applications that have been developed in kinesiology since 1982, starting, of course, with Dr. George Goodhart, who really is the reason we're all here, isn't he? I mean, did come in before that, kinesiology, but he's the one that brought us to the front. The processes, it used to be on an app, it's no longer on an app, it's just on a website now. The app was just too problematic, so I've left that in there to remind me to let you know it's not on an app, and that changed last month. We just have it on the website now. So the processes bring eye movement techniques into a clinic tool for modern kinesiology application. It advances upon professional discoveries of eye movements and auditory processing by these kinesiologists. And how the processes came to be is a really important part of the delivery of the model, how it helps with trauma, and how special they really are. I think anything that comes out of somebody's wound and allows them to heal, which in my case it had helped me heal, is going to be quite potential for everybody else out there who's struggling with wounds and wound stories and traumas and human issues that are just very depleting. So I'll go through some of that. And if you've got any questions, just let me know. Possibly put it in the chat, because I can't see you guys unless I look over to this screen. So My kinesiology background is I started as a kinesiologist, falling in love with it in 1999 after doing 6 months worth of sessions with a kinesiologist in my area. Her name is Robin Clemson. Before that, I was a teacher in secondary schools and commencing my training, if you like, between 1999 to 2002 in kinesiology. So I started to step away from teaching and into kinesiology because I just saw so much potential in it because it had healed me so much. So in that time, I had completed levels 1 to 5 in Touch for Health and Touch for Health Practice Theory, levels 1 to 3 in SPEF Kinesiology, which is an Australian model, levels 1 to 5 in levels 1 to 4 in PKP, and levels 1 to 5 in 3-in-1 concepts. I then gained level 4 kinesiology membership with the AKA, and between the years 2000 to 2005, I owned a really busy clinical practice in Cairns and Port Douglas in Australia. So I've been doing it a really long time. Then something happened in my life that, much like yourself, Nicola, that was very traumatic, and it set my life on a very large journey that was incredibly depleting and difficult, and it went on for many years. So in 2004, in my family, there was a triple homicide. These people that you see on the screen are my family members, and Anna was pregnant at the time. So it was a very difficult time in my life that it pushed me into waking up to myself and leaving what was an emotionally cruel and mentally abusive marriage. That didn't end there, however. He took me to the family court, through the family court for literally 10 years. It was a very traumatic and dramatic experience, and was really literally domestic violence re-perpetuating itself, but using a court system as the bully. In 2007, this is my photo of my daughter and I. Obviously, we're going through a court system. By 2012, I developed fibromyalgia due to deep resentment and anger at a broken system. And by the time I hit 2014, I got stage 3 breast cancer and had a double mastectomy and lymphodectomy. However, between 2012 and 2014, something really incredible started to happen for me. My 2 dearest friends said to me, Amanda, what's going on? You're so good at kinesiology. We know you've had to let go of your practice for various reasons to deal with the family court situation and help your daughter, but you really should be applying kinesiology to yourself to help heal yourself. And I got that from one friend. And then 4 days later, I heard it from the second friend. Now, those two don't know each other that well, so there was no way they could have had a talk about it in a week and both given me the same message. So I saw that as a very big angelic sign. So I got started and I went into my clinic practice, and actually back then I didn't have a clinic practice. I went into my cupboard and pulled out all of the boxes of my kinesiology equipment I'd put away. One day I'm going to do this again because I love it. That was what I had to do. And I started to muscle test my way through my own wounds, my own trauma, my own story, my emotions. But keep in mind, in 2013, I was still really sick. I hadn't quite got cancer yet, but I was really, my cells were a mess. My fibromyalgia had me in bed most days, and it wasn't a great show. Within the week of February, when Process Indigo was born, I literally found that I was muscle testing this information and going, well, these are the motions and this is what I need to do, and eye movements are coming up and I've got to do some auditory stuff, and that's testing as a mode, and all these other modes were in the processes. So I thought, well, how am I going to apply this kinesiology model to myself when A, I'm really sick, bedridden a lot of the time, and B, I don't have the money to go and see a kinesiologist, so I've got to birth something that's going to let me get sessions on myself while I'm in bed unwell. even if I have a really bad day, because we all know how to self-test and we all know how to, self-clear on ourselves, but I was not in a great place and I really wasn't able to do that every day to get better. And at the time, I didn't know what I was creating. I just trusted it and went with it. So process indigo, I thought, well, the best way to do this is to record it. So I got out my iPhone and I did pause locking and mudras and hand modes and process models and close locked and held them in circuit. And then I recorded my very first process as a meditational recording with the eye movements going in the different directions that had showed up and muscle tested for me. So the first recording finished on the 11th of February 2013 at 11:30 a.m. And I kept going because after doing the first ever process indigo, because I was incredibly emotionally overwhelmed with the situation of my court experience and my health. And I did my very first process, and like you ladies will discover, I just went, wow, that was something really incredibly special. And it changed my mindset in this area immediately. And it was a 17-minute model. So I kept going, and as I got a little bit through the process indigo emotions, I started to then bring in blue, and I started to realize I'm very angry about this family court situation. And I'm especially angry that my ex-husband and his barrister is the brother-in-law of the judge. And it had been that way for 5 years, and I was really angry about it. And I thought, well, in those 5 years, I'd done everything in court to move this man on. I'd put in sorts of paperwork to get this judge, or at least the barrister, shifted, and nothing shifted him. So at the time, I didn't realise I was fiddling around with what we now call vibrational energy. And that, as we know, law of attraction, thought equals form, had no idea I was creating something that was going to be potentially life-changing to manifesting my way out of my mindset mess and into a really great place of living my life, well removed from the family court. By then, I'd already been in it 8 years. We'd had a couple of judges, hence that 5-year period with this person that really shouldn't have been on the case file. So basically, with that, I then processed with Process Red. And I had a family court mention coming up on the 8th of April in 2013. And they're only about 15 to 20 minutes. You arrive with your ex and you have a chat with the judge and he sets down some order and off we go. It's a normal procedure that you get kind of used to that many years in family court. So what occurred was 3 days prior to that, I'd been processing every day. I'd been using indigo, blue and red throughout the rinsing of this whole thought that I was having around this. And 3 days prior, I'm cleaning out my bath, wiping something down, and I had this flash in my consciousness that appeared, and I was going to get a new judge. And I was like, wow, that's a bit out there, but why not? I've tried for 5 years. We'll see what happens on the 8th of April. So I arrived to court on the 8th of April. And there's the old judge. And I'm like, okay, well, that didn't work. So whatever that was about, whatever. Okay, so I then waited for the 15, 20 minutes and he went on with what he wanted to say. And then right at the end, he goes, oh, and by the way, I've been transferred to Brisbane and you're getting a new judge. So I was like, oh my goodness. I don't know whether I fell over in absolute excitement that we were finally going to get some safety and some justice and some protection for my daughter and myself, or whether these processes actually worked and were just a manifesting game changer. So I was really excited. So I left there and just went, right, let's get stuck into these. So I created green and yellow and orange, and they were birthed through me. So as you can see, over a period of 6 months, processes came to life. I kept processing. By 1st of March 2014, I got stage 3 breast cancer. Now, that came about because underneath was all this deep, deep resentment. still going on. I still had a long way to go with this healing. And keep in mind, with kinesiology, we work through the whole model of 1 month for every year of that particular trauma or damage is really what's required. So 1 month of really great work and moving and processing and modeling, whatever healing model you're doing really is really equivalent to that year. That's why that first period we start to heal is just so like quicksand, getting through that. So that was a big thing for me, because I'm talking way back to the murders in my family by then. And by then that was 10 years old. And so there was a lot to get through. But I did. And one of the biggest things about getting stage 3 breast cancer is that I sat there and was laying in the hospital this day. I'd already had my breasts removed, and my surgeon came in and he goes, "You're going to need this much chemo, this much radiotherapy, and these many years of ongoing treatments." And I said, "Look, I need some time. I need to think. Just head off, do what you need, and I'll get back to you in the morning." So he goes, "Okay, well, I can't wait too long because it's going through your lymph at rapid speed. So we better get moving on this." So I was like, okay. So I went in and I did my, meditating, but not my processing. And I just prayed in and I said, "God, what is this about?" And I got this message, deep, deep resentment at 3 men. And I went, okay. So back came processes, and Process Blue became like my best friend, because it's all about anger and resentment and hate and all those emotions that one feels when they're in that predicament. So I just kept working through it, and I did get 1 round of chemo, and not making this a recommendation at all, but for me, it just wasn't for me. And I said to my oncologist at the time, "I can't do it." And he was like, "No, you can't go, because we really need you here and you won't live." And I said, "Look, bottom line, I've got to deal with some of the emotional stuff. I'll do the radiotherapy, but I'm really angry. And if I don't sort that out, I won't be here anyway. And I don't think the chemo is going to help my mindset while I do that." So we had an agreement. We went on and off we went. So that's my back end story. I hope that gives you a little bit of hope in terms of some of the stuff that can happen to people, the clients I get, what's going on with your clients, and how processes can really shape your mind and change your life. So that's my back end story. As I said, between 2018 to 2020, I started to test my processes on 100 case studies. I wanted to check that what I got for me was working out for these other people. And that was a really important part of the research for me. At that point, I didn't think I was going to get them out. I just wanted to see what we were dealing with here, because it was pretty momentous and big, I believe, because by then, by 2018, I'd really moved some big stuff. I got us out of court. I'm still on the planet beyond what they anticipated me being. But I, after testing it in between that time, I was like, well, I better go back and get updated in my quals, because it's been a long time since I worked on clients. I certainly did stuff at home on myself, but I need to obviously regain my currency. So between 2019 to 21, I studied NK, which is neuroenergetic kinesiology. And in April 2019, I was given full cancer remission. So in 2019, I regained my level 4 kinesiology membership, and then COVID came along. And in 2020, I had the professionally recorded. In October 2020, I subcontracted an app team, and I then launched the app in April 21. And then obviously I need to let you know that shut down last month because it was just too many bugs. And then in mid-2021, I gained the AK approval to make the processes a level 1 practitioner course. This is a short course, but the practitioner course allows people to actually be certified in this particular model of kinesiology practice. Mid-2021, I achieved my dream goal, which I had since 1999, to become a level 5 kinesiologist, and I did. So in July 2022, I shifted the processes off the app and onto the website where they live now. When I recorded them, obviously with those 100 case studies we talked about, I did a lot of research around that, because obviously at the time they were built for me and my problems and my concerns and my trauma. They needed to be subjective for humanity if they were going to go out in the world, because by this time I had decided, yes, they are going out. I had some great results from these 100 case studies. Let's move these. There were some minor alterations that needed to occur. So in the big professional recording studio where this guy in Kansas used to having rock bands come in and different musicians, I arrived with a drag in my massage table, my model, all my therapeutic stuff, the crystals, the chart, and he's sitting there, what is this? But I had to lock all the energies. So basically when I created the processes, I did a little mini setup in a kinesiology balance, if you like. So I set up the hand modes and the mudras and the different positions and the different crystals. And then when we got that set up and I had it in my circuit, in my pause log, I then recorded what it was that was for each process on the model. So then we finished that process. I finished that recording, captured those energies to say process read in that recording, and then we close the circuit, clear the energies for red and start on process orange. And it went on for a long time. It was a long day. The very next week, the model, who is a musician, a very well-known sound healer who channels vibrational energies, she came and she did all the background audio. So this is her here. It's Nerisse, and she really is quite splendid with her background, and she's a doctorate in metaphysical healing as well as all her music background. So she went away and she said, Amanda, I know that you'll trust me with this. You cannot come into the recording studio. I'm sorry. We're going to have just let me channel this and I'll come out and you'll love it. And I did. So in a sense, that's why between the combination of her music vibrations and the kinesiological mudras, hand modes per se, locked into those recordings, that's why your vibrational resonance is quite high when you're listening to them. I know you guys haven't tried that yet, but you'll see what I mean when you do. So getting onto the processes now, is there any questions? No, all good? Okay, so the processes are a kinesiology meditation method, but they're not like standard meditating. So they're not working just on the amygdala and reducing the amygdala spreading down that limbic system stress. That's why meditation works quite nicely, because when people are stressed, their amygdala atrophies. When we meditate, it reduces, relaxes, and that stops that push of hormones, stress hormones through the bloodstream. So there is meditation processes in it because it's auditory, and there's the vibrational method, but there's also the eye movements, which is what we do with the processing. So it is a tool for the kinesiologist in the clinic, as well as a self-guided emotional processing tool. So as I've discussed, they are manifesting tools. I've had clients and process community people who are not my clients. They for different reasons, just doing self-guided processing and taking online courses and classes. They've had some pretty big shifts. So they combine the kinesiology methods of eye movements and audio processing. There's 12 different eye positions on the 6 process meditations, and those eye movements access different parts of the brain. They're a result of my extended research in the eye movement-based practice that have been around in kinesiology since 1982. Obviously, that gets deeply explored in the level 2 training, because those eye positions develop and open up different gateways of thinking as to why that pathway's stuck there. So the Eye-motional Processes has 6 processes, each with different emotional energies associated with each process, as I discussed, and those were recorded and locked in. There's a chart of emotions on the app or on the website, and there's a practitioner chart which you would have received, not as the large version, that's more for level 1, level 2 training, but certainly in the protocol that I've provided. So the chart is wonderful because it helps you muscle test into a scenario where you've got the client, what do they need? Let's muscle test. And you've got the person who's just doing self-guided processing, working through what do I feel, how do I feel, where do I go, and what will I listen to? So there's 2 different ways to go. Oh, please. For Eye-motional Processes introduces humanity to an affordable, sorry, it's really warm here, so I've got the aircon on, but it's getting very cold now. So the processes introduce humanity to an affordable entry point where kinesiology can be discovered. And with that result in my heart, becoming more of a household name, because really so many people go, kinesiology, what is that? We still get that, and yet it's been around for so long. So for me, it's like, well, let's introduce people to processes so that they can get kinesiology in their life in this way. So from the self-guided entry point, processors actually attending a kinesiologist in their area may arrive easier in their consciousness rather than them thinking, what is this kinesiology thing? What is this about? So you can see that getting people in my community of processors is literally about getting people in my community processors is like warming them up, and then they start to come to sessions. Now you can imagine I get pretty busy. So training people in this model allows for other kinesiologists to start to access these people who are starting to be ready for deeper sessions. So that's a really good thing. The benefits of brain rewiring processes in the clinic session. So now really literally I've introduced what the processes are, because I know you girls have only just found this. And now I'm going to introduce how it can help you as a kinesiology practitioner. So we're going to go through those benefits. So the client experience. So since 2020, clients have been using the 6 processes alongside online and face-to-face kinesiology sessions. These sessions have provided access for our community of processors to deepen their brain rewiring journey by gaining more awareness around clearing their stress issues through self-guided processing, which is integrated with clinic sessions. So the clinic experience is complementary, it's integrated, it's clinically prescribed brain rewiring home play for the clients when they themselves get the processes. So they're kind of meeting you halfway. It's really important that we set home play for our clients so that they start to take some ownership for some of the healing that needs to go on in their life, especially when we're talking about clients with deep trauma or deep mindset patterns that have become stuck. So to date, there's been a global delivery of online sessions to clients from Australia, United Kingdom, and the United States. They've been delivered by myself, and that's now starting to change as people start to, like yourselves, Ireland, that's great. They've just opened up a whole new area, and I'm really excited about that. When it comes to the practitioner benefits, there are great practitioner benefits. You yourselves would know that in kinesiology, we can get quite drained because we're dealing with complex energies, shifting complex energies, and we're also, in this case, dealing with emotions and trauma and deep issues. So it's really important that obviously we can use the processes to clear our own emotional energy. If we're drained that day and we've had stuff going on, we can clear it ourselves before we begin for the clinic day. We can also reduce our own practitioner fatigue because space, as you'll get to see today, is created during the face-to-face sessions, much like an acupuncturist or bone therapist does. That then we can complete our case notes in that time. We can do our own little bit of resting, meditating, create a home play prescription for the client. And that's a really important thing because it allows us to then get to more clients, help more clients, because when we've got more energy, we can maybe take another client on that day by a new model of practice. So the practitioner benefits continue in that it complements your existing clinic tools with the options of consumer versions of processes, which are longer, and they're used during particular eye-motional processes balances. They're not taught in this short course. We're teaching you just corrections. So in level 1, we start to see where those balances start to take place. We encourage clients with self-responsibility through process-related home play. Now, when it comes to my clients, they know if you haven't done your home play, don't come to session. And they're very, very adjusted to that model with me. And some of them get it done like the night before, but that's just people, right? And you'd be relating to that, Marie, because of students and kids. And also Nicola, because you said you work with kids as well. So we return clientele through client engaging in the 6-session series. That's obviously something we teach in the level 1 and 2 model. And the process of community-based referrals. We have greater clinic reach to global and remote clients, because by level 2, you're learning how to deliver this online. And the reason we deliver it online through level 2 training is because when people talk about their issues, their problems, their emotions, their eyes move in all those directions. That those 12 eye movements in the chart, in the practitioner chart that I've developed, tell us what's really going on. And then we can do some processing online. That's working really well for me in overseas countries and obviously interstate in Australia. So there's 5 ways to use the processes in your clinic. And they are as a correction in any balance, as face-to-face, which is what you're learning today, as well as EMP practitioner facilitated 6 process balances, which is the level 1 training. EMP practitioner facilitated 12 eye position balances, which is the online and face-to-face, which we just talked about. So you're almost taking up the role of the counsellor, but using a more deeper kinesiological method with it. Then we've got the 6-session series, or 6 times 1 hour kinesiology-based bespoke balances towards advancing a client's outcome. So obviously when they do their 6 process balance or the 12 eye position balance, we go deeper and we start to say, well, look, we really need to see you over a 3 to 4 month period. Let's book you in for 6 sessions over that time. And we do get some great clearances. I tend to find with this model of practice, you don't have clients returning quite regularly unless they're still going through significant deep trauma that is not shifting just yet, because they're in positions which have them not being able to shift it. Might be a lifestyle situation. I mean, in your case, Nicola, you would be finding that with your partner, you know, there's this deeper awareness that has to go on, and it is about keeping people with their vibration high, their emotions going well, while they're also managing these other complex issues. Because if we can get that emotional side of it sort of in an equilibrium, we can then assist from the physical realm, or they can get that assistance elsewhere, no matter where they're going for it. So we also get process-related home play that arises in the kinesiology session. As a correction in any balance, we use 6 processes corrections, which you're going to learn some today. You'll learn 5 of those, and a chart of emotions, followed by process audios. And these are used as a clinic tool to correct an imbalance during a session when you're undertaking any type of balance protocol. You'll get shown the hand mode. Much like you use tuning forks and crystals, you'll then use the processes. Number 2, we've already talked about in the level 1 training. You learn the 35-minute protocol where you put the elements and all the hand modes on protocols onto the client, and then you leave the room for 25 minutes while they integrate those elements during a 6-process audio. This provides you time, as we discussed before. As an online balance, the 12 eye movement balance, we can do those online and see where people's mindsets are at, what's blocking them, what's surrogating them. And then we obviously have the practitioner training levels 1 to 6, which are outlined in 10 to 12 of your short course workbook. And then as a 6-session series, which is the bespoke balances that we do over a 3-month period for people going through deep stuff. And those are people that have been carrying stuff around for so long too. So it's been really great for that. And then number 5 is the client-related home play, designed during session and occurs between each session between the client and yourself. And it helps facilitate the extra healing journey for emotional energy debris and self-responsibility. So now we're going to get to the exciting stuff, which is the brain rewiring corrections in this course. Before I get to that, I'm going to just shift you over to my screen. Thank goodness I have 3 screens, and make sure there's no, yes. Just to make sure that there's no stuff going on that you might have questions about from what you just saw. Is there any questions there? All good? Right, Nicola, you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Good. Am I getting your name right? Because we have 2 variations of that name in our country. Nicola and Nicola.
Nicola is my name.
Beautiful. Yeah, I just don't know whether you see like Nicola. Okay, so Nicola, that's wonderful. So I'm going to go back to sharing the screen, and this is where we get into the juice, right? We're really excited about that. Can you see the screen again? Yep. All right, so these are 5 brain rewiring corrections that are going on. Let's have a look at them. So as you know, kinesiology hand modes access, they're an energetic language, and they're used, and we touch the human body with the hand mode, and we can touch acupoints, alarm points, and essentially these hand modes are mudras, which are energetic mudras. When they're individually used, acupoints and hand modes create an energetic language to ask the body simple, individual questions. However, when it comes to formats, we use hand modes and acupoints combined together and then muscle test them as a format. Now, the reason I'm going to talk to you about formats is because you're going to learn them today. Formats allow the kinesiologist to ask deeper questions to gain deeper awareness of issues than what we would see if there were hand modes or acupoints just used individually. And you'll see that when we work through it. Kinesiology formats were developed by Richard Up in applied physiology to provide kinesiologists with more complex information about their client. So I'll show you the hand mode for the 6 processes. So it's a bilateral touching at the pericardium 8. You'll just see, so it's like that. I've got funny fingers, so just excuse mine. But near enough's good enough for funny fingers, right? And if you want different and deeper information about it, in PKP, which is one of the areas I've studied, this hand mode on a unilateral side is to surrogate, right? When an individual takes on the problems of others. When we're using it bilaterally, it's self and others to self. In eye-motional processes, this hand mode, when we use it, suggests that that client's also holding emotional energy stress of the heart and the pericardium, where relationships with certain males or females has resulted in dark periods for their soul. The pericardium 8, which is here, connects the inner chambers of the heart and assists the soul in trying times of darkness. It is nourishing to the heart, and unblocking this point encourages a person to live from their heart and from a space of joy and love, embrace themselves and others through the action and releasing of the past. This is from a book by Gervais, this is 2016. So let's do some clinic demonstrations. And I'm going to go through pages 18 to 19 of the short course to take you through correction 1. So I'm going to stop the share right now so I can see your lovely faces. All right, guys. Just making sure you can see okay and that you can hear okay. I can see you down there. Nicola, that's great. Okay, so I'm just going to do just a pre-check on my client. She's pretty good. We're all good and ready to go. Just did a bit of a blanket one there, a bit sneaky. So go to page 18 of your book. Let's go through. So as you know, the hand mode to, so this is how it works, girls. You're in the middle of a correction. You're doing a balance, you're in the middle of a balance. You're doing a balance, something's come up, and you're working through your normal protocol in your balance. And then you now start to look for the correction. We with me? So with the correction, we start to say, okay, just so you know too, Nicola, I am quite happy to snip you guys out of the recording. The recording won't show your faces when it gets shared.
iPad I have no stand. So I had it sitting on the table, that's all.
Oh, you poor love.
I need to get a new stand. The stand's broke. Sorry.
Yeah, I hear you. I used to do the whole heap of books, glued it up.
I'm holding up my hand.
I just wanted you to know if that was why we weren't seeing you.
No, sorry.
Okay, great. That's all good then. Okay, so you're in the middle of a balance. Balance has come up. You now start to look for correction. You've scanned your chart, you've scanned your crystal, you've scanned whatever it is that you're going to correct it with. Nothing's showing. So you say, okay, well, is it 6 processes? Brain rewiring. And that's the correction. So if this comes up, the hand mode that I've showed you, that's on page 18, number 2. If that hand mode comes up, and we're in, okay? Now I pause lock that hand mode in because that's a format. And as you know, if you're just doing the single hand mode, that's fine, you can, right? But when you're doing a format and you need to capture that information into the person's circuit, you're going to need to pause lock a format because you'll see what I mean when we go along. Some people haven't learned formats. Have you guys learned formats?
No.
No, okay, well this will be new to you. So you've got a standard hand mode, but then you've got formats. Formats themselves require sometimes to touch, to marry together a huge equation of energy vibration that we want to gate open in the client to start to balance them to the imbalances showing in their body. Make sense? Is that too bright in your face?
A little bit, but it still feel like for you.
That's all right, sweetie. We want you comfortable. All right, so we've got our hand mode goes on. And if you go to your chart, your clinic chart that I tested for you, that I've shown up for you, by the end of this course, you're going to have 5 corrections. So clearly, you would literally just go to this chart. This chart would be on your wall somewhere. And if this comes up as a correction, you then would go to your resources and bring it in, and then you start to use it. So I'm doing correction number 1, which is it's coming in as a final correction. Now, what if it comes in right at the last 10 minutes of a session? Well, then you set the processes for home play. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So you would say, in that case, tap it into the brain, say, okay, well, you don't have time to do the processes today, but when you finish, I'm going to talk to you about what process I want you to get onto. And then you just say, when you do process blue, red, whatever it is that's come up, that's going to be working the rest of the correction in this balance. Make sense? Telling the brain what it needs to take from that. Then you ask them, before you go to bed tonight, could you please do that process? Yeah. I'll just probably keep saying yeah, because that's just me and that's how I do things. So if you've got it, we'll keep moving. If you haven't, just quickly do that, okay, so it's easy for me to see you. Okay, so we know we're going to do, we're in the middle of this. We want to know that's come up as the correction. Well, what process is it? Well, that comes back to the emotion. So the emotion mode goes on. And then we put scan mode on. So this is number 4 on the book that you can see. And then we're going to scan the chart. And we scan it. And it's orange. No surprises there for this client. Now, the other thing is, right now, I can't get her back. She's gone, kaput. Now, I'm not going to move forward until I at least bring back some equilibrium. And that brings us back to just pre-checking, because obviously there's a pre-check that's gone. So I've got a very unlocked muscle, stage 3 stress. It's not letting me in. I can't go any further onto that protocol until I bring her back. So I'm just going to check my pre-checks, what one it is. See what will hold it. Okay, so I'm just going to put something on there. Just to bring her back. This is just me correcting a pre-check that's come up during the session. This client is very prone to doing body kriyas, as are a lot of my clients. I'll talk to you about that if you come to the next event. That comes up at the next event as a big thing, but literally what it is that the fascia around the muscles is holding the trauma. So the client's letting that go, releasing that. People have those during the listening of processes. So I tend to move a lot with this client in the session. All right. Okay, so we've cleared that. We're ready to go. So now I can check. It is that. Yes, it is. The emotion, scanning, it's orange, but now I've got it back. Fantastic. We can move forward. This is what I say. Well, Katie, can you relate to process orange emotions of sadness, grief, depressed, burdened, or fear? And she can. Now, she might want to go into a little bit of a story, and that's okay. Just put your 2 fingers on the shoulder and just tape it, energetically taping her talking. You don't want too much of the discussion, because she's going to get rid of all of this stuff that's compacted inside of her during the process. So we talk a little bit. And so she might say to me, oh, yes, I can relate because it's this and it's that, and I'm muscle testing and just taping and testing, and she'll say things that unlock, and yet I've got all that great pause locked, all that in. That's terrific. Yeah? Now it's time to do the actual correction. So in my clinic, when it comes to these, I've got earphones here, obviously, but I've also got, because these ones I can sterilise, but my clients also bring their earphones and plug it into either their phone or my phone. But I also, when it comes to clinic processes, I have the audio going, piping through my computer that's in my room. So there's lots of ways to set this up. Okay, so what I do is, as I've explained on page 19, I explain to the client, especially if it's their first time, that I'll literally say what I say to them, but it's in on that page as well. Katie, you've not used processes before. What I've got is, these are kinesiology meditation processes to help rewire your thoughts and your unhelpful emotions and beliefs around the story you've just told me. And what I'm going to ask you to do, are you okay with that? Yeah. So you'll go on the audio tape for 17 minutes for Process Orange, and you'll hear a series of negative emotions coming through the audio. And as you're hearing those emotions, you'll be asked to move your eyes in certain directions at a pace that's comfortable for you. The instructions are on the audio. When you're moving your eyes and hearing those emotions, that's the auditory part. You're then going to think through the very story you just told me and all the things that are on your mind about that predicament. Are you right to do that for me?
Yeah.
And she's right to go. Any questions?
No.
Thumbs up? Yeah. Come on, who can be an Aussie, Nicola? All right. So then I would ask her, would you prefer to use the earphones or would you prefer me to just pipe it through the room? And she'll tell me, because some clients find that traumatizing. They don't even like that. And that's okay too. Right? So I then set them up, I let them know what's happening. I put the earphones on. In this case, she'll do it. You want to put that on for me? And in my case, I get out my phone, find the process that I'm wanting to use on the website, which you'll have set up. And we start to listen. In that time, you head out of the room. You actually first ask your client, are they okay that you leave the room? Now, the reason I've put that in and why it's important is because A, they're going to feel really uncomfortable with you watching them doing that. I do leave the door ajar because, especially for clients like Katie, where there's going to be body creators and movement going on, I want to make sure she's okay. All good? Plus, there can be some tears and emotions coming up. So it's not like you head off and go hang out your washing. You're standing in the area because your role for that time you're out of the room is to set up her home play, is to take some of the case notes, is to get some of that admin done that you wouldn't be getting done until after she's left. See how it starts to become very good for you too, which is fantastic. All right, any questions? Because that's your first one.
No, that's it.
Pretty good, hey? We haven't seen one at play yet, but we will. Okay, we'll do that last. Do you want me to take those off, Tom? And so what I'll do now is I've left the room. She's processing. I'm out. Keeping my eye, writing my notes, getting my details. Some clients, such as when you've got kids, they're going to need to have you in the room. All right. So then you come back in. You'll see their breath changing, especially if you're watching from the door. So the breath will start to release some of this trauma and some of this emotional energy. They'll be quite calm when you re-enter. So you're not going to want to come in and get started, too quickly. Just come back in. And I'm going to recheck. I'm just going to tell her body what I wanted to know. You've done the process and you're right, and you're going to lock. And so I come back in and she's finished her process and I check the muscles, we're good, we're right. Double check my mode and we're holding. Then I've already written the home play. So I want to check that home play because some of the home play I write for clients has been written in my notes as we've gone along in the session. Different things will come up, but I just collect it all and then give it to them at the end. And sometimes I'll stand outside the door and muscle test, self-test the appropriateness because I'm still in her energy field. So I'm coming up with what's needed. Yeah? So I just check. My home play prescription is, in this case, I'll just talk processes. Process orange, 3 times a week as you think about this particular story and different elements of stories that come up for you. Now, I'll also say, hey, because that was such a big thing for you, when you go through your processing this week, can you just write a journal, keep a journal, because different ideas, different memories will come up, and you'll want to write them down, because the next time you listen to processes in this week, you'll want to do that process for that. Yeah? All right, so that's a single process balance or correction. Any questions before we move on? No? Good? Good. Okay, you see, I'm like this, so you guys are right way back there now. and you're little. Okay, so our next correction, we're starting to get subjective. So this is really now more tied to emotional processes, corrections. So if you don't mind, please, Marie, just reading out the context of this balance protocol, please. On page 20.
Okay. Okay, so when performing a balance protocol on a client, you've reached the stage where final correction is required. Usually this correction shows when the client is going through stress in their personal life, be it in their relationships, family, workplace, community, finances, lifestyle, etc. This correction is not for past stressors, as this is more appropriately covered in the level 2 and 3 practitioner training courses, where past and future emotional stress, traumas and human dramas have created embedding in the neutral pathways and are sabotaging a person's current experiences or their ability to move forward from past experiences.
Happy?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So here we go. We're in the middle of a balance. You're doing everything you've done. This has come up as the correction. Now, in this case, it's not appropriate to, with the 10 minutes left, send them off and do this one as a home play, because you need to put some deeper protocols in. And that's that way for the rest of these balances that I'm showing you today. It's only that first one that you can do that home play setup. Provided with that first one, you've checked all the other elements are cleared and she's right to go. If you've only got 10 minutes left and this comes up as your correction, then you can set them some home play around this and book them back in. And for their next session, this would be what you're starting with. Yeah. All right. So let's go. So we're going to muscle test. This has come up as appropriate. Oh, great. We're on our chart. So I'm obviously not using you're not using your book. You've got your chart. This has come up. And which one is it? Is it number 1 just on its own? No. Then we do the 6 processes hand mode or format onto the ESR points and it muscle tests. Great. We know that that's the correction we're using today. Keep in mind when these come up, you're going to need about 20 to 25 minutes to deliver the correction. But you will get better at it. And what I love for you girls, because you both work with kids, is that those guys don't want to sit in the room for an hour. You know that. This is great because you can get shortcut into things, what's required, do a half-hour balance another time, come back and do a half-hour of this the next time. As you know, with kinesiology, we only give what is testing up. That's the most important part of it. So if this isn't testing as appropriate, we don't deliver it. All righty. So we've got our 6 processes format onto ESR. It's tested. We then need to look for the emotion on the chart. And so emotions tested up. Now we're putting on scan mode and we're coming back through this chart And it's orange. It's going to come up for orange each one of these because we've not cleared it in Katie yet. Okay. So now we're going to do, if one or more of those emotions come up, we need to check priority mode. Priority. Yep. Priority mode, but it didn't, but I'm just showing you in case it does, because one will override the other. Okay, and then we ask again, we're back, rinse, repeat of literally what I showed you in that first correction. How does that emotion relate to you? Can you relate to that? And she'll do what she did in that last example. And I'm taking it, and she'll talk to me, and I'll muscle test some of that information. Now, some of that information that's coming up in the story that's still unlocking is really good to write on your notes when you're out of the room, because they're gate openers to the next session, to the deeper layers. Yeah. Okay. So again, that's it. I've explained it. I've put the earphones on, or I've given her the audio through the pipe in the room, and I head out of the room. And I'm keeping my eye on her all the time, and I'm writing my home plan. I've got my notes about the story, and I'm coming up and constructing material for her. Yeah. Then I re-enter. Again, just getting her right. You don't have to do that. That's just me bringing her in as if she's had it. Okay. So then I would come back in, take off the earphones. I don't do too much talking because you'll find they're still coming down, and oh, that was good. You know, I feel released. And okay. Then I just check the hand mode again, recheck that it has now cleared, and hold. And it's held. Checking that, you know, home play, this is what you're going to do, muscle test that, confirm I'm right with that. And then we finish. Now, all my clients have got processes. They're all on them. So they know when I say, this is what we're doing, this is what you need to do. But for some people like yourselves, they're not going to be introduced to this yet until you introduce them. And that's when they'll need to get the processes. They can just get the one single process that they need, or they can get the bundle if you're doing a journey with them. A process journey is when we start to go through all the different layers of the emotional chart through the 1 or 2 or 3 big traumas in their life. So Nicola, with you, with your partner, that would probably be a really appropriate way to work with him. And you'll muscle test that. Sometimes it's just one colour. Sometimes it's, you know, how do you feel like if that was my client, and I'll give you this to work with him this way. I would say, well, you know, your mindset's stressed around this accident and the injury you've retained from it. That's what we're going to deal with as we work through our processes. And you're going to have a lot of different emotions around this. Sometimes you'll be angry, sometimes you'll feel powerless, sometimes you'll feel depressed. This model of the process journey will allow him on one thing. How do you feel about the accident and the injuries? Just that simple thing would be enough for him to check the chart and do a process at home. And then you can come back and go deeper. Make sense? All right. Any questions?
No.
We're good. All right. So let's move on to correction 2, because correction 3, I've explained. Katie's left, she's headed off, next client's come in. Okay. Now we're going to work with the correction 3, which is brain rewiring for emotional body stress release. Danica, would you mind reading the context of that one, please? That's on page 23.
Okay. So when performing a balance protocol on a client, you have reached the stage where a final correction is required. Usually this correction shows when the client is going through physical pain related to illness, disease, injury, accident, etc. This correction arises during balances where emotional stress and persistent pain are linked. This I can't say that word. Biopsychosocial connection is the mainframe focus of kinesiologists, thus brain rewiring in kinesiology practice. When it comes to emotional body stress release, as relevant to the practitioner and the client, the 6 processes as a home play provision for clients who experience pain and emotional body responses, and vice versa, is a highly recommended support to enhance kinesiology clinic practice.
How's that sound for your particular situation?
Yeah, relevant.
Yeah, good. All right, so I think you're going to love this particular one. So this is where you'd be working with your partner or your client if you've got a client with this emotional body stress, right? So I might work with people who've got cancer or fibromyalgia or chronic diseases, bowel issues, illnesses, accidents with this particular model. Okay, so we're going to test with again, we're in the middle of a balance. 6 processes will come up as a relevant correction by just testing the mode. Now we need to check, because we've got our chart from our chart here. Is it just the 6 balances inside a correction? Test. No. Is it the emotional one? Test. No. So it must be our next one, which is the emotional body release, which is, now this is where formatting comes in, guys. So you can see that you need to do this particular one, 6 processes, balance, hand mode, pause, lock it, then put on the body stress release hand mode, pause, lock it. That's the picture now. So it says it's brain rewiring for body emotional stress. That's the sentence, but in an energetic way. Everyone happy with that?
Is that the 4th finger that the thumb is on against?
Yes. So it's up in here on emotional 1.5. I'll just show you. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks very much.
So first one like that, pause lock, then like that, pause lock, captured.
Okay.
Happy?
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Okay, so let's go. So we've got that in, we know that's what we're doing. I just want to pop it in to Katie's circuit properly because I was doing it outside of her body then. Good. And we come over and we're now looking at specific muscle mode times postural stress release mode. So if you have a look, because that's the postural stress release mode, which is the one I just showed you, emotional 1.5, and the specific muscle mode. Hold them together, pause, lock, because then you're going to, so we've got that as an energetic picture. So we're saying, what specific muscle up against postural stress is showing in this body? Now, sure, you can do a muscle test, you can do your alarm points, you can go that, or we can scan this body, because we're talking about an emotional energy frequency that's coming through this body, and so it's almost appropriate to put it in as a scan. So scan mode, and over the body, and here. Makes sense to you? Did you get body stress here in the gut?
Yeah. I've got my hand here protecting it.
Oh, there you go. All right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you keep going because there might be more. I've got a little wobble here and down at the feet. Stack them all in. No need to prioritize that because it's all three. All right. And now we then do what we normally do, which is which emotion is holding in the energy pattern of the postural stress of this person. Because this is the stuff that's so unconscious, so subconscious that they won't be aware. Why is this area holding this emotion? We've already discovered that in the mindset, Kanie holds process orange emotions. But what's going on in her body cells, in her tissues, in her posture that's holding that stress? Is it the same? So we scan across our chart and I've got process red. See how that changed the picture? I'm just going to pause lock all that in, Bubsy. So suddenly we've got body that's saying, well, really, I feel no choice and despair and powerless. Shock. That's me, really, in the body. So when I say that to you and you think of this area of your body, does it feel like that? Yeah, she can relate to that. Yeah. So in this case, we would be doing process red. So again, we're back to the start of that first correction, where we put the audio on, we explain she's going to be doing eye movements, it's process red, these are the emotions, this is what you'll be listening to, this is what you'll be thinking of, that particular story, because I would have got some more information out of her then. And then I would walk out of the room, checking in, and then coming back in at the end, double checking, writing up my home play, double checking, and now I'm going to check the mode again, format in again, and we're holding. Make sense?
Yeah.
Check the home play, away we go.
Great.
Any questions? Awesome.
No.
All right, so I'm going to come back over to you now. You want to just stay there from the demo? Just going to share the screen here. Wrong one. But can you see the big screen?
Yeah.
So we've just been taught correction 1, which is brain rewiring as a final correction during any balance. And correction 2, which is brain rewiring for current mindset stress release. And correction 3, which is brain rewiring for emotional body stress release. Now we're moving on to correction 4, which is brain rewiring for goal formation. Before I show you that correction, I just want to talk more about the layers of the mind and how this relates to this particular correction. So there's 3 layers of consciousness, and these can influence an individual's goal formation, failure, or their success. The conscious mind defines a person's thoughts and actions and awareness, a person's conscious state and their current awareness. The subconscious mind defines a person's automatic reactions and actions to situations when they are thought about in the past, present and future, and includes subconscious automatic skills as well as resistance towards change. So when it comes to goal formation, it is the subconscious mind that stands in the way of people really doing the outcome of their goals that they're wanting. The unconscious mind is the 3rd layer of consciousness, and it defines a person's deep recesses of their past and their memories, primal instinctual thoughts which we cannot deliberately access, and includes suppressed feelings, auto reactions, complexes, and concealed phobias. So I'll head back to the area now that I've shown you that and how it relates to what I'm going to show you now. So this balance comes up for clients who might want to lose weight, are trying to change a pattern, they're habitualized, they're reactive, they keep creating arguments or fights or traumas or this sort of thing. Variations of subconscious and unconscious sabotaging behaviours that they really want to shift. They know they want to, and they don't know how. It's still stuck, even though they've tried everything. All right. So in this case, again, we're in the middle of a balance. This comes up. We know we've got 25 minutes left. We can deliver this particular correction if it's appropriate, and it shows. We've gone through our chart, this chart here, because we know, hey, this is the gate opener. We're in on this correction somewhere. But which one is it? Is it 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5? So if we go in at 1, it is not that. So we test it. Not, because we've already put it in. Is it this one? No. Is it our body stress release? No. Now it must be then our goal formation. So we're coming in here, pause lock there, and put in goal formation hand mode. So I'll come down and show you, which is the self mode at 2.5. 2 fingers together. Personal ecology and emotion together, holding the mode. Right, so it's 6 processes mode, self. This is self mode to get the goal formation mode up. Yeah. All right, so then we're going to come in a bit deeper. This is a really important part. So we're going to say, well, and keeping in mind that in this particular session, they've already come to you with goal stuff. You already know that you're working through that because that's what the balance has been sort of part of. Or it may come up in a random way because we've seen that before, right? And we might say, hey, are you working on goals at the moment that don't seem to be able to stabilise for you? And they'll go, yeah. That explains why this came up. All right, well, obviously you've got some deep unconscious and subconscious mindset blocks that are stopping you achieving that goal. So we're going to do some rewiring on that. Are you okay with that? Yeah. And then she'll say to me, what is it that she's trying to actually achieve? What goal is it that she's trying to achieve? All right. And then I would write some notes down. And I would say, you know, in a simple 6 to 10 word statement, I've got the example, my confidence at work is improving every day. Now, Katie might have a different goal. So we're going to ask, what's this goal? And she'll write it down. My goal is to do this. So let's find an affirmation for that would work for that. All right. So in this case, let's find that. What is it? Do you know what your goal is at the moment you're trying to achieve that you don't mind sharing with the girls? Starting your business. Okay. So Katie would like to get her business started as a practitioner herself in what she's loving and doing, which is Emma. Okay. So we say, is this about confidence? We find it. You must scan your charts. You might find what it is about. So tell me a little, and I'm going to find it myself so we can really get in there. So what is it that you feel is blocking that from happening? Where I live. Where you live. So it's about, in terms of, do you need to move? Is it to do with the location? What is it? Okay, so, all right. So I am clear to, then see I've got a stage 3 stress right there, okay? Because it's blocked, this person she lives with is blocking her goal. The mindset stress around that, okay? So I'm just clearing that, good. So I'm going to come up with a statement with her. I can embrace my business and start to move forward regardless of where I'm living. And that's unlocking. Okay, because for some clients, it isn't just a matter of us saying, well, you just got to move out then. Or go and get this, or sort this, or do that, or go do these processes, that'll sort it. It's also about saying, well, while you're living in that situation and you've got plans to shift out of that, you've got visions, you've got dreams, you've got goals, that's possible and it's arriving in its future for you. How about we start to bring in some of the light into that right now anyway, even though you're living right there with that person, with that situation. That doesn't mean that you have to bring clients along, but it certainly can mean that you don't have to stop loving what you do. You can read some books, you can do some study, you can do, you know, had I let the family court stop me doing kinesiology, I don't think I'd have air. Right? So even if we're in the messiest predicament, we should still be finding a way to integrate what we love and do what we love, even if that's the smallest level of one piece of air for that day. So important. So I'm working on that layer. All right, so the affirmation will be, and I will write it down. One moment, please. Just get a little piece of paper so we can put it down. So we've had a little chat about it, and I am safe to explore being an Emmett practitioner regardless of where I'm living. Now that's nice because it's unlocking. She doesn't believe it. How's that sound?
Amanda, am I right in saying that statement is causing a stress to the body, so it's unlocking?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the one you're going with.
Yes,
You're going with
to
that
go
one.
with.
Okay.
So I'm safe to explore being an Emmett practitioner regardless of where I live. Now this is perfect for kids and learning.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to show you a bit deeper in a minute. So that's the affirmation. It's unlocking. We know it's stress. Now, if we say I said to her, well, that's all right, you know, you'll move out one day and it'll all work out. And I'm not starting to clear some of the goal formation stress. And she has in her head, in an unconscious and subconscious way, I'm not safe to do that. I'm not safe to explore being an Emmett practitioner no matter where I live. Well, guess what? She'll move out, and guess what? She'll move next door to a jackhammerer. You know, we have to clear the thought that's blocking the potential, or it will just stay there anyway. It's what we see in people that keep repeating toxic relationship patterns. Inside of them is a goal that's stuck. They want to be different, but they're stuck in this unconscious, subconscious patterning, and a lot of it's coming from how they speak and how they think. And that's what this particular correction starts to clear. Sound good?
Yeah, perfect.
Right, so I'm going to poke the bear a bit deeper now on this affirmation. And we're going to see which side of the limbic system stress and what are we doing? Are we in extension or contraction? And we're going to bring in the supraspinatus as a muscle test. So I'm going to get her to come up like so. You know this one, coming towards your pelvis like that, and the muscle test is going to be, come with me like that, and back out again.
Okay.
As I say this affirmation. So I've locked it in contraction and I've locked it in extension. I'm clear to go. We've got a good test of the limbic system and the brain. So we're now really looking at the brain cortex and the limbic system. We're isolating that with this muscle test because we've understood there's some brain rewiring around goal formation that has to be done here. She's not achieving a goal. It's blocking her life. We've got the goal we need. We know what it is she doesn't believe, but she wants. We've checked that the cortex and the limbic system are holding in the clear, and now I want to poke the bear. All right? Okay, come on up. And you say for me, darling, I am safe
Safe
to explore,
explore,
being an Emmett practitioner,
being an Emmett practitioner,
regardless of where I live.
regardless of where I live.
Now that's holding, so it's not in contraction, it's in extension. And I'll talk to you about that in a minute. Okay, I am safe
I am safe
to explore,
to explore,
being an Emmett practitioner,
being an Emmett practitioner,
regardless of where I live.
regardless of where I live.
And we're going here, stage 1 stress on the left side. See how she's floppy here? And okay, now I'll tell you, now we've got the other one going. Say again for me. I'm safe to explore, being an Emmett practitioner,
being an Emmett practitioner,
regardless of where I live.
regardless of where I live.
And there it goes. All right. So it's really her left side. I'm not getting too much on her right side. Her left is unlocking, and really it's stage 2 stress. Okay. I circuit that. I pause lock that in, and I write those notes down. You can see this one needs a little bit longer. So it is left side in extension, stage 2 stress, because it went that far out. Not all the way, that's 3, and a little bit's 1. So guess what that tells us about her, about our dear Katie? It tells us that in her extension of herself, being the left side into the world, she's got stage 2 stress on this. And what does she want to do? She wants to be an Emmett practitioner. What does that mean? That means she's coming out in the world as who she is. But that requires her to have a whole brain integration on it without any unconscious or subconscious mindset blocks. We all good?
Mm-hmm.
So you guys that work with educators, you're going to love it. All right, so now we're going to go in a bit deeper. So I've got that checked. We've checked it in extension. We've checked it in contraction. And I'm now going to get them to say it. She said it aloud, and now I want her to say it to herself. And what do you think that might do?
Make me throw up.
Don't do that. Not today. So we've got her to say it aloud. We've already found a stage 2 stress on the left side of her unconscious, subconscious mind. Now we want her to say it to herself. Do you think we're going to see a lot more stress here? It's a pretty big chance, okay? So let's get it. All right, so coming on up, you say to yourself,
I am safe.
no, to yourself, Bubby, in your head.
Sorry, I can't remember what it's now.
I am safe to explore. I'll say it for you, then you say it, okay? I am safe to explore, being an Emmett practitioner regardless of where I live. And she's gone. Both sides. Same statement. And to yourself again. Hang on, sweetie. Can we just get a muscle test straight up? Good girl. Okay, say it again. I am safe to explore, being an Emmett practitioner regardless of where I live. That one didn't go, but we had a stage 3 stress in contraction. Very unconscious, very subconscious, stuck patterning, yeah? Good, we're ready to go. All right, I'm not correcting this. The processes are going to correct it.
Yeah.
She's got the story. She knows what it is. She just brought it all up to the surface in her mind. She's ready to spill out a whole story to you, but we don't want her to do that because we want her to rewire it. Consciously, she knows the stress, but it's the unconscious and subconscious mind that's stopping the patterns changing. Hence the processes, right? Alrighty, so now I'm going to go back to, I've now got that information, I'm going back to the brachioradialis to test a bit deeper. I'm in at 7A now, so I'm going to do double-sided, so I've got both sides, and I'm asking, is this goal balance at the conscious level of Katie's being? Okay, is this goal in balance at the conscious level of Katie's being? So I've got a yes. So this is her conscious thoughts and actions. Now, okay, we know that she wants this. Consciously, she wants it so bad. She knows it. Or she wouldn't be driving her vehicle in that direction. She'd be doing something else with her vehicle, her human body vehicle, all right? Is this goal in balance at the unconscious level of Katie's being? No. No, 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 no. All right, so she's got suppressed feelings, she's got suppressed reactions, complex emotions going on around the goal. And that's what's blocking that goal. All right, so we've got that. So we write down the notes. So it's definitely a stage 3 stress in contraction, said to herself, and it's very much at the unconscious layer of her being. And now we're going to check the subconscious. Is this goal in balance at the subconscious level of Katie's being? And it's a no, stage 3 stress again. So we've got automatic reactions going on to situations, thoughts, and automatic skills and resistance to change. So she's blocked in all these areas. So there's this great sense of helplessness and powerlessness going on, right? And guess what? And this is a little sideshow for you, but that last balance we just looked at showed us she had processed red held in the body, held in here.
Yeah.
Right? But even though we're on a different balance, you can see the journey this is taking us on.
Amanda, can I just ask, the questions that you just asked, once you've established if it's conscious, unconscious or subconscious, have you another series of questions to ask after that test?
No.
Like you said, is it resistance to change?
Yeah.
That's just your own questions.
Yeah. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. Yes, you're just asking those questions yourself. There isn't a set format of questions to ask after that, is there?
Yeah, these are conscious questions I'm stating that she's hearing. I'm pause locking the answers. Because you can't see that, I'm so sorry. And then I'll put it all in here.
Yeah.
Keeping in mind that when we pause lock, we're opening a gate of energetic possibilities and finding where these blocks are. And we're opening a filing cabinet and we're putting a new file in of a block, a new file in, a new file in. I haven't even corrected her yet. I'm just stacking her stress.
I feel that.
Sorry, darling. All right.
Thank you.
All right. So yeah, I mean, you can go deeper if you had time, and as you get more skilled at this, and keep in mind, both of you haven't done your own process yet. So once you do, you'll then see where I'm heading.
Yeah.
And why we're doing it this way. See, it's like, you know, when somebody, you're going along in the day and you're consciously good, and then somebody triggers you like that. Something gets said, something gets done, you see something, and off we go. And the thoughts begin. And the wiring gets cluttered. And we start to flood because the connections in the neurons, in the neural pathways, start to fire up like a Christmas tree around anger or despair or powerlessness. And then the more we think, the more we feel that, and then we're exposed and there's more around us, we flood. Because we're getting this activity going on in this area or here that's saying this is what's happening in my limbic system. So when we're doing this inside of a balance and I'm getting all this information out, Katie didn't get on this table expecting this information to come up. Right now it's in her head. I can guarantee you. Is that right? Yeah.
Get it out of my head.
So it will be. So I've pulled it all up to the surface because we're going to do a process on it. Now, how else would we work if we didn't have a process to clear that? Well, you could just go back to other kinesiology methods, and that may be appropriate. It may not test up that this is going to be the next correction for you. Or you might talk to this person and discuss all these issues with them, but it's only going to keep it active in the conscious mind. It's only going to keep that limbic system firing. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, in this case, I want to find, so going over the page at 28, so we've got all that detail. We know what's going on in her brain with this goal. We're getting really subjective. So you can both see where when you're working with kids, how much this would be great for their learning situations.
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. So we're now going to find which emotion is the conflict, because obviously underneath all that thought and blocking, there's going to be a very strong emotional thread of one of those process colours creating this block for her. So in comes the emotion mode, scan mode across the chart, and it's red. No surprises there, and I can't get her back, okay? Because her unconscious and subconscious, I don't want to face that. I don't want to face how I feel about no choice, despair, shock, powerlessness about where I live, and that I can't do my MA. That's the story. Yeah? Of course, I can't just let her be all floppy. I'll just have to do a quick pre-check, make sure we're good to go, see where we are. Okay, it's true. Here, just pop some stuff on here. I'm just doing a quick pre-check correction because she went that stressed out in the session. If you can't get the muscle back, it's because the pre-check, there's that much stress about what you're saying or doing that it's brought up a pre-check. You can just clear it that way and then keep going. Okay. And I'm back. We're good. Terrific. All righty. So in this case, we're actually going to put her on a process. Can you do that? Yeah, do that. Okay, well, it's good for you. Yeah, it's good. But I might get you to use, have you got your phone and earphones in? Yeah. All right. I'll get Katie on. This is another way to show you. Katie's going to go onto her phone and her earphones. All right. Because obviously in this situation, it's not appropriate for me to have it piped while I continue to talk to you about the next protocol, because she'll be going in the background. I am running about 10 minutes late. Is that okay with you girls?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. Okay.
Just in your handbag, just open up and just.
I'll leave you with that one.
Yep.
So she's pretty strong in the process community, Katie. So she knows exactly what needs to be done here. So essentially I've left the room. But I just want you to see that going on in the background. You'll probably see Katie move some kriyas through her body as she's releasing the stress from her fascia, from her mind. That's normal for her. And in this case, if you had crystals on your client's body, you would definitely take them off so they don't go all around the room. So, Katie, you're going to think about that particular goal and how you feel the process red emotions about where you live and that goal and what's blocking it. Does that make sense? Yeah. All right. So she's on. And I just have a quick look at that. She's got her red and she's away.
I never close the browser.
They're fun. And I get her to just take it away from her body so that there's not an electrical EMF going on, just on the bed. And very good.
Okay, ladies.
Well done. I'll try to keep my voice down a little bit. Just
So I go for it.
all right. Coming back now. Any questions before I keep moving forward? All right. Leave her to do her thing. We're moving in. I'm going to share screen with you again. Can you see the full screen?
Yeah.
All right. I will throw this one in now. So we're going to talk about the home play prescriptions for your clients. Obviously, we get to do correction 5 and we'll do that in a moment. So there are 3 prescriptions that come with this particular course, and they're the ones that we take our clients through. So the first one is if you want to take a snip of that or a screenshot, you can. You have my permission. And you'll also see that on your chart, your therapy chart. I have a tissue, of course. I forgot to prepare Katie with her tissues. Okay. So on your chart down the bottom, you'll see the correction protocols there too. All righty. So in this case, we're doing the brain rewiring home play for current mindset stress. So that there was correction number 2. And this is a process journey prescription where we send the client away throughout the week and we ask them to observe when their emotional energy shifts, get them to view the chart, pick the emotion they're feeling, listen to that process as they think about their current stress levels, and then after listening, they recheck the emotion to check they've gone up. They can rinse and repeat as often as needed in the week, but in this case, I tend to muscle test. I'll ask them, this is every day, or this is every 3rd day, or twice a day. That's the first one. The second one is the home play prescription for, you've muscle tested this, for emotional body stress release. So again, the client, so you test the best process for the client, because you'll find with emotional body stress release, they tend to be stuck in on one primary emotion. All right, so you'll find that in the week or the 2 weeks that you see them, having them on the particular emotion that's tested up, sure, you can put them on the journey if it's muscle tested as appropriate, but if it hasn't, then stick with that one emotion, because that's the dense emotion that's in there. I think you can both relate to what I mean about body stress and body tension and where that emotion is held. People do have an emotional tendency around that stuff. So obviously test when to listen, if there's intervals, and then the client designates their home play days and they listen to the colour process which indicate it. So I tend to find that I can muscle test And they can as well, or not muscle test, but they can determine, well, you know, what suits me and does that work for me? Because I have got this health that I'm trying to deal with and I can't do every day and every second day. So there's this bit of discussion that goes on around it. Generally speaking, muscle test first, and if that's not appropriate, then they can designate it. Okay, then after listening, they check the chart and they'll have come up the emotional chart. So I'm just checking in on my client because that's what I'd be doing if I was out of the room. And then process prescription number 3 is the brain rewiring home play for goal formation. Now, because that's the correction I'm doing on Katie today, this will be the home play prescription I will be giving her. So each day she's to read that goal aloud to herself, the one that we just did in the session. Check the chart of emotion. If she feels that her emotion is above vital on the chart, then there's nothing to do that day. But in relation to the goal, if they come back the next day and they view that chart because she's, you know, got something going on that's happened, it's slipped her back down the chart, she then does that process for that day. Then after listening, she checks the chart and she'll notice an energy shift. The shift is pretty dynamic and it is noticeable. Is there any questions about the home play before I move to that last correction?
No.
Amanda, are those last 3 slides that you just showed on the, they're not on the printed booklet, are they?
No, darling. And what I can do, they're not printed in that way, no. How about I would you like me to screenshot those and send them through as PDF?
Oh, please. Yeah, I was just going to ask your permission. Could I just go back and take a picture of the second and the third one? But if you don't mind, that would be super. Yeah.
I'm happy to do that.
Yeah.
It'll be done by the end of this weekend. And it's really good feedback for me because this is the second course I've run and it allows me to go, okay, right, put those in the book. Rather than send them separately.
No,
my last course, there's a few girls on and they took the photos, but I'm more than happy. Any other questions? Excellent. So I'm going to come back and screen share as we go into the next correction. So this one is brain rewiring for color frequencies. And this is a really, really important correction to eye-motional processes because we're working with color. Each of those process colors is vibrational to a resonance of energy, and it's an important part of our feature and what we do. So the brain rewiring for color frequencies correction is a client home play check-in. If you come back to your page 30, and Marie, if you would like to read the context for me, please.
Okay, so the correction protocol is appropriate for the return client who has been provided home play with the processes, yet has struggled to engage in the self-care model that brain rewiring home play provides. The reason a client has not self-determined their home play can vary. However, it's important to check that color imbalances are not affecting their energy field and their home play engagement in ways where they are drained by a colour, including the emotions associated with that colour. Need more absorption of a colour in their lives, including the emotions associated with that colour. Need less absorption of a colour in their lives, including the emotions associated with that colour. Are reflecting too much of that colour in their lives, including the emotions associated with that colour. Are not reflecting enough of that colour in their lives, including the emotions associated with that colour. This correction protocol only refers to the 8 colours on the Eye-motional Processes chart of emotions and the colour frequencies determined by these colours as they relate to the speed of light at 300,000 kilometres per second. Colours, due to their variations, travel at different speeds, and these covered in this balance as energy imbalances that are impacting a person's engagement or in a capacity to do their brain rewiring home play you have determined for.
You're happy with that?
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. because some people don't want to face the difficult emotions they have. These are your bottlers. People that bottle emotions, people that don't want to express them, people that feel trapped by emotions, people that don't even like to hear other people's emotions. It's all in there. All right. I'm going back in now. So, as we discussed, it is to do with getting that home play back in alignment, because if they're not engaging, there's something going on vibrationally here. And the reason can vary, and that is basically, it's important to check that a colour imbalance isn't affecting their energy field. So if they come in, and as you heard me say, I won't see people if they haven't done their home play. So if they've come in and they've rushed it, and they've said, oh, you know, I had it done last night because I've been really busy. Well, we're talking about a self-care issue, aren't we? Unless there's been something quite, you know, significant that's come up that's had them detract from that home play, then that's a different situation. But when it is tied to being too busy for themselves, then we really are needing to look at, well, let's get you through some of this imbalance that's going on. And I will then check this. That's why this one gets checked. So let's go back into, actually, before I do that, so how I'll do that is obviously when they first arrive, talk to them, done their pre-checks, got them really ready to go, and I ask them about their home play, and it's been a no, then I will quickly check this colour frequencies mode and see if it's applicable. I'll go into that a little bit later. And if that shows, then I'm running this balance. Okay. So let's go through drained by a certain colour, including the emotions associated with that colour and why that happens. Need more absorption of the colour in their lives, including the emotions associated with that colour. So in this case, when they're drained by a certain colour, including emotions associated with that certain colour, they may have been around a parent that was significantly depressed in their childhood. So they don't really cope very well with dealing with those emotions in the orange, but yet they've got suppressed emotions around depression and fear and feeling sad and burdened, and they're yet to release those. So that can be draining to them just because they've been around that. Or they might need more absorption of a certain colour in their lives. So we're talking about somebody that, you know, has gone through an experience that's been quite depressing for them, and they're living in this orange band. But in a sense, there's almost this need to go through some of the other emotions that relate to this. Like, what about getting angry about this? You're allowed to feel angry. You're allowed to go through some of those emotions, because in going through them, that anger gets you out of bed. But we've got to shift that orange emotion out and through and into the blue, process blue, so we can start to clear some of those underlying emotions. Needs less absorption of that colour in their life. So these might be incredibly angry people that are just needing to start to clear that anger and work through that, but they're finding it difficult to even accept, well, yeah, I do have that anger. I had a client like that not too long ago that is clearly very angry and very visibly angry, yet can't accept that, to start even working with processed blue. So I ran this on her, and it was allowing us to gate open that a little bit better. Or reflecting too much of a certain colour in their lives, in colour, including the emotions associated with that colour. So in a sense, it's a very similar thing. If they need less absorption of the anger and they're reflecting too much of it, we're talking about maybe somebody that's been around situations where people are angry and they themselves are angry, and they're reflecting too much of that back out, patterned conditioning, if you like. Or they're not reflecting enough of a certain colour, which is what we've just discussed a little bit before about, well, what's going to motivate you to get out of that powerlessness and that depression? And you'll find that, say, with Katie, she's doing Process Red right now. When she finishes on this particular subjective thing to wire that out and change the pathways, she's going to feel the violent emotions, but the next couple of days will come up the chart with other emotions. I'm feeling pretty angry that I can't get that in the going. So guess what? We're back there doing that journey. So how do these factors influence a person? Colour frequencies, as we've discussed in the book, relate to the speed of light at 300,000 kilometres per second as demonstrated by Newton. And to understand colour frequencies, therefore, it is very important to understand light. As a form of electromagnetic radiation, light has properties in common with both waves and particles. It can be thought of as a stream of minute energy packets radiating at various frequencies as a wave motion. And I'll just show you what that is meaning. That video is not working, but this would wave, and that's what goes on with minute energy particles when it comes to colour. This is where colour healing can be so powerful. Any given beam of light has specific values of frequency, wavelength, and energy associated with it. There are 7 colours of visible light. Interestingly, on the chart, there are 7 colours as well. Each colour exists over a wavelength, frequency, and energy range. The colour spectrum order from highest to wavelength to the lowest is red 650 nanometer, orange 600 nanometer, yellow 580 nanometer, green 520 nanometer, blue 500 nanometer, indigo 450 nanometer, and violet 400 nanometer. A single nanometer is 1,000 millionth of a meter. If you wanted to take a photo of that, you can, but I think the next slide will be more relevant. To put things into perspective, when it comes to these wavelengths, light ranges from about 400 nanometer at the violet end of the spectrum up to 700 nanometer at the red end of the spectrum. At shorter wavelengths beyond 400 nanometer at the violet end of the spectrum, the electromagnetic spectrum extends to the ultraviolet radiation region and continues through X-rays, gamma rays, and cosmic rays. So from here, underneath the 400 nanometer down, we're dealing with X-rays, gamma rays, and cosmic rays in nanometer spectrum. In contrast, just beyond the 700 nanometer at the red end here of the spectrum, there are longer wave infrared radiation rays. So they're longer, they're not as quick, they're not as short. And these can be felt as heat, microwaves, and radio waves. Just checking in on my client there. One moment, please, Phils. All right. I will leave. You're right for me to just have you lay there while I continue on. I'll show you how we finalise in a moment. So all of these factors can influence or impact a client's uptake of the emotional energy vibrational frequencies in any of the 6 processes in the chart of emotion. Let's take a look. And this is the one you want to take a photo of, but I will send that snip through to you as well. It's a really important one to have. As you can see how the wavelength and frequency and energy level affects. All right. Now, what I'm going to do is come to finishing Katie off. Is there any questions on that colour one at the moment? Because I'm going to show you in a second. No? Okay. All right. So Katie has been doing process red around her goal. Just bringing her phone over there and out of our way. All right. Now I want to go back to that particular correction. Keep in mind, I would have been out of the room. She's done her correction. I've come back in. We wouldn't usually have that little interlude. We just had getting that next one through. Okay. So I now need to double check that the goal formation is holding, and it is. that hand mode pattern is holding. We happy with that? Now I want to double check with her on that goal. And you're going to just leave your tissues there for a moment, please. I want to double check where her brain is in relation to that. Because if we get an unlock here, that's where we set the home plate. Right? Okay, so coming up with the double. Good girl. And hands out. And towards, it'll be towards there. So we're going, I'll show you that you know the test. Okay. All right, I'll show you the test. So come with me down to there and out again. Okay. And now say after me. So just checking that I've got a lock and come back down and straight out with me hands. And I've got a lock. Great. So we've got a double lock. Hands straight out like that. Good girl. Good girl, but not too stiff. That's better. All right, say for me, I am safe to explore.
I am safe to explore.
Being an Emmett practitioner.
Being an Emmett practitioner.
Regardless of where I live.
Regardless of where I live.
And we're holding. All right, come on back down, which is no surprises because it was before. It's this one we want to make sure is changed. I am safe to explore.
I am safe to explore.
Being an Emmett practitioner.
Being an Emmett practitioner.
Regardless of where I live.
Regardless of where I live.
And she's holding. All right, so we've got that coming. Remember we had that left side stage 2 stress in extension at the start? Well, that's now holding. All right, now we're going to come back and we're going to do the brachioradialis, as we say. Is this goal in balance at the conscious level of Katie's being? Yes. Is this goal in balance at the unconscious level of Katie's being? Yes. Is this goal in balance at the subconscious level of Katie's being? Yes. All right. So then we're going to check, is there home plate associated with this balance? And yes, there is. I've asked a question, I've got a lock. So it tells us that all fair and dandy, as you know, you do your balance on your client, they go away and they feel really good and they're in a much better place. And then a week later it might unlock, or 3 weeks later, and they might have a situation come up which unlocks some of that. So you do it at a different layer the next, or a different circumstance the next balance. Does that make sense? So in this case, we're going to go, all right, we're in balance, terrific. And now I want to check the home plate. So the home plate is home plate, process home plate, yes. All right, and we've got unlock because we're a little bit stressed about that process home plate. Because guess what? We're going home. And we're going to be doing that home plate at home. Okay, so I need to now check. Is it appropriate to do your home plate in your home setting? No. Is it appropriate to do that home plate outside of your home setting? Yes. So clearly, her doing home plate at home is impacting the result of the processing of the stress that's blocking this goal. Make sense? Yeah. So we'll have a little chat. Where else can you do it? I can do it in my car. I can go down the beach. I can do this. I can go to a friend's. I can go over here. I can do that. But either way, this home play that she's about to be provided is not to be done at her home, because it would defeat the purpose. And that makes a lot of sense to you, doesn't it? Yeah. All right. So coming back, we found out where we can do it. Is the home plate okay to do? Yes. So we're going to find which is the home plate. We've got it. Okay. Scanning. All right. Now I would then go to those 3 home plate prescriptions I showed you, which I'm going to put and email you, and I'll put them in the book thanks to this session today. And you just scan which one. Okay. That's a process journey. Right. So process journey is the home plate. You understand what that is, and what that means is each day Katie's going to read her goal does she feel an emotion about that goal when she says it? Does that feel stressful? Does it feel yucky? Does it feel this? And then she'll go into a process sometime in that day when she's got the chance. All right, now can you see that I haven't said I'd like you to do that 3 times a week? I've asked her to chart check. I've asked her to read her goal every day, look at her goal every day, check the chart. If she's violet or above, no processes to be done. If she's below indigo and below, do that process, because she's going to check how she feels about that particular goal every day. Now this, my loves, is why affirmations don't work for some people and in some cases. Does that make some sense to you about affirmations you may have done in the past? Yeah, because your goals are out and you've got unconscious and subconscious blocks around it. So by getting her to check her affirmation and chart check every single day, she starts to get responsible for her feelings around that goal. And then the affirmation can start to change and build and grow into better places. All right. Any questions on that before I quickly show you the colour correction before I let you go? All good? All right. So let's go to this last one. All righty. And we're now doing the colour frequencies, which is emotional 5.5 bead. I'll come over and show you. So it's this hand mode. Sorry, 6 processes one. Never mind my funny finger. An emotional 5.5 bead. All right. That's the combination of the format. It's in the book. So not this side, that side. Having seen it in the book on page 31. All right. So she's gone away, and because she was doing her home play at home a couple of times, she decided she was going to give it up because it made her feel yuck. Let's just, hypothetically say. So we then say, all right, so we're going to come in, pretend this is a proper balance. She started her session. I've checked the pre-checks. We're all good to go. Did you do your home play this past week that I haven't seen you? And she'll say, yes, no, whatever. So we'll just have a little chat. I don't need to muscle test that. If she said no, we might have a chat about that. And if she said, I've just found it difficult, that, my love, when you hear that, you're looking at one of these. Why is it there? So it's a frequency issue. So check, and it's on. I made that go on then, okay? So we're on, because Katie would have to be one of the best students and clients for home play. So I've made that go on then. Okay, so then we've got that mode in. Check the emotion, go against your chart, see which one it is, scan the processes chart, and it's the pretending because nothing's showing. Say it's the yellow, okay, feels unworthy. Okay, now we're looking at a new part, a deeper area of the balance we just did, the last one. Does that make sense? Because she's just done process read in the clinic. She's headed off for a week, hypothetically. She's done her home play for a little bit, decided it's all too hard because she forgot she couldn't do it at home and has done it at home and it got too clunky. Come back, not happening, and up comes yellow in this correction because she's got a vibrational issue around self-worth, shame, unworthiness. Make sense? On the chart. Do we get a thumbs up, Marie? Good-o, great. Okay, so we've got that, and we've got the process we're doing, And then we ask the client, can you relate to those processed yellow emotions? Can you relate to how that has felt for you this past week around this goal? Oh yeah, I mean, who's going to come to me as an EMIT therapist? Who's going to do this? Who's going to do that? Who's going to this stuff? Okay. Throwing that away. That's a rubbish thought. Okay. Once that colour is determined, we then put them on right there. Let's get rid of that home place sabotage right up. Then you can do the other things that check up as appropriate to your balance, to your session. Does that all make sense, ladies? All right. Oh. So I have to send you the 3 home play prescriptions and the colour frequency chart against the eye-motional processes chart. I just want to share my last screen with you. And just want to say that today, thanks to processes, that we are living a very processed life and we love our life. So that is part of the thing I wanted to say to you, is to come from all that trauma and all that hardship and the illnesses into this place because of processing through all those years and all those thoughts and all those stories. My life has changed, and it's changing the lives of many, many, many clients that are getting onto these, as well as those that are self-guiding through them. Is my references for today that is also in your book. And that brings us to the conclusion. Are there any questions? Thank you, Dan.
Thank you. Is it okay to contact you? I probably will have a few questions after once I
Absolutely.
process.
Please.
Thank you.
Yeah. Please do that. Like, I want you to go and use the model and see it in your life, see it in your people's life. You know, I'm just one person, one practitioner using it. And there's something very special about being new yourselves to a brand new model, because the world is an oyster on things that when they come out new and you embrace them and you use them, and where you can take those things. Because I don't have people working with kids with this, because I don't work with kids. I refer people for specialising in that area that don't do processing with their clients, that do other things. So who knows what world could open up for you. And my last lot of students, they were using it in different ways too. And it's wonderful to have you both here, as well as those ladies and the other couple of students that are coming to this course and re-watching it. Because I'd love to see where you go with it. So please email me. If it takes me a couple of days to get back to you, it's just because I am quite busy, but I will get back to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Do you have any other questions?
Oh, I do.
No, not at the moment.
Not at the moment, Nicola?
No, not at the moment, no. I suppose whenever I process it myself, I might have 10. Hopefully not. Thank you.
Absolutely. And do a process.
It was well worth getting up at 5 a.m.
Oh, I'm glad. Wait till you do your first process, Nicola.
Yeah.
I mean, you
Thank
yourself have been through such a trauma, my love.
Yeah.
All right, this is going to be a wonderful self-care model for you.
Yeah.
You've had a huge life change and you've become a carer.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so time to process some of that. Not just for your partner, for you too. And your clients. Marie?
Amanda, would any segment of today's recording be available to watch again, or?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's perfect. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I have a lot of, on every course I've done, I've really, really longed for a visual, you know, recording again, and it's a big thing I have with my learning. I just can't trust my learning, and I need to see it again and again. So that's brilliant. Thank you.
You're welcome. It'll be
Thank you.
once I get it up and inside the course login, the particular course login that you've enrolled in. When you go into the login on, we've got 2 websites. So onto the courses website, you'll see login and go down, and you'll see all your course material where you got your printouts from. The video will be available in there for you as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm more than happy to do that because it's a new material. It's important to go back on it or you won't use it.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Go out into the field, do your first ever process first, and then start delivering it on others. And please stay in touch. And I hope to see you at the trauma workshop if it's not too late. That's 29 Australian dollars. I've made that one really affordable.
Brilliant.
When is it, did you say?
That's the Wednesday, the 24th of August at 6:30 till I think 8 o'clock.
Oh, that's fine. That's perfect. Okay.
Something like that, 7 o'clock, something. I gave you the link before. Let me have a quick squiz and see. I'll just have a quick squiz. See what it says. Oh, that'll be even better, wouldn't it? Okay. Where is the information for that on this? Oh, here it is. Wednesday, the 24th of August at 7 p.m. till 8:30 p.m. I'm glad I didn't log on at 6:30.
Brilliant.
So that'll be good. What time does that make it internationally? I think you said 10 a.m.
Back 9 hours, so it's oh my God, 9 a.m. I think.
That's okay. We
9
can do
a.m.
that.
Yeah.
Well, the link's there. Did you grab it from the chat box?
Yeah.
Yes, a screenshot. Yeah, thank you.
We'll be doing a whole different pathway, that one. I think you'll like it. Well, ladies, it was so good to meet you. Please stay in touch. It's so great to have you here.
Thank you.
Good to meet you.
Bye,
Good
Nicola.
luck. Bye.
Bye bye.